In a peaceful countryside village nestled between gentle hills and thick woodlands, there lived a dedicated farmer named William. His days were filled with honest work alongside his cherished wife, Elizabeth, and their cheerful young son, Daniel. Elizabeth brought warmth and joy to their humble home, making every day feel like a celebration, but tragedy struck when Elizabeth grew seriously ill and passed away, leaving William and Daniel devastated. The years that followed were heavy with grief, though William knew he needed to carry on for his son's sake. Eventually, he met a woman named Victoria, elegant, well-spoken, and seemingly compassionate. They married soon after, and Victoria arrived at the farmhouse with her own two children, Sophie and Michael. William hoped this new chapter would bring healing and unity to their broken family. Shadows beneath the surface at first, Victoria appeared to be exactly what they needed. She managed the household efficiently and her children settled in quickly. But as weeks turned into months, her true character began to emerge. Victoria treated Daniel with increasing harshness while showering, Sophie and Michael with every comfort and privilege. Daniel, once a bright and joyful child, became quiet and withdrawn. Each morning, while Sophie and Michael enjoyed hearty breakfasts, Daniel received only stale bread. When he dared to complain, Victoria would snap at him coldly, telling him to appreciate whatever he was given. Throughout the day, while the other children played freely, Daniel was assigned endless tasks scrubbing floors, feeding livestock, and repairing broken equipment. Victoria watched him with an icy expression, making certain he never had a moment to rest. The bitter cold when winter arrived and snow began to blanket the ground. Victoria purchased fine wool coats for Sophie and Michael, having them tailored to perfection. For Daniel, she offered only his late mother's worn and threadbare shawl. "This will do just fine," she said dismissively. "You don't require anything more." The freezing temperatures were merciless. Daniel's hands and feet went numb as he split firewood and hauled water from the icy well. Sophie and Michael, wrapped snugly in their new coats, would mock him cruelly, calling him names and laughing at his suffering. Daniel tried to ignore their taunts, but the words cut as deeply as the winter wind doth at night. Victoria banished Daniel to the drafty attic while Sophie and Michael slept in warm, comfortable beds. The attic was a lonely, freezing space filled with dust and the eerie sound of wind seeping through cracks in the walls. Daniel would shiver beneath a thin blanket, his stomach empty and his heart heavy with sadness. One especially harsh evening, lying awake in the cold darkness, Daniel overheard Victoria telling Sophie and Michael a bedtime story in the room below. "Remember, my darlings, you are extraordinary and deserve only the finest things." Daniel, however, must understand where he belongs. Her words echoed painfully in Daniel's mind, reinforcing the cruel division she had created within their family. Silent, suffering Victoria's cruelty extended beyond physical hardship, she attacked Daniel's spirit as well. She constantly criticized him in front of her children, calling him clumsy and comparing him unfavorably to Michael. Sophie and Michael, influenced by their mother's behavior, joined in the mistreatment. They hid his possessions, shoved him into puddles, and ridiculed his ragged appearance. Daniel's pain came not just from hunger and exhaustion, but from feeling utterly unwanted. Daniel loved to sketch, using scraps of paper and bits of charcoal to draw beautiful images of the farm and surrounding countryside. One afternoon, Victoria discovered his artwork and tore the drawings to pieces before his eyes. "You're wasting valuable time," she said icily. "Get back to your duties." Though his passion for art didn't die, Daniel learned to hide his sketches carefully. He would find secret spots behind the barn or hide in a tree where he could briefly escape Victoria's cruelty and lose himself in his drawings. A faithful friend, despite everything, Daniel remained determined to endure. He found comfort in the company of the farm animals, especially an aging, gentle horse named Breeze. The horse had been part of the farm for as long as Daniel could remember, and he would often confide in the kind creature, sharing his hopes and sorrows. One day, while cleaning the stable, Daniel overheard a conversation between Victoria and a neighbor. The neighbor complimented Victoria on her household management skills, but Victoria's response was chilling. Managing things is simple when you have someone like Daniel to handle all the difficult work. My Sophie and Michael deserve the very best, and I make sure they receive it. Daniel's heart sank. He had known Victoria didn't care for him, but hearing her speak so openly about it hurt worse than any chore ever could. He realized he could no longer remain silent, speaking the truth that evening. When William returned from working in the fields, Daniel gathered his courage. "Father, I need to speak with you," he began, his voice shaking. "Victoria doesn't treat me kindly. She gives Sophie and Michael everything while treating me like a servant." William looked shocked. "Are you certain, Daniel?" "Victoria has always seemed so caring." Daniel nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "I wouldn't lie to you, Father." "Please, come and see for yourself." Reluctantly, William agreed. He followed Daniel to the kitchen, where Victoria was preparing the evening meal. As they entered, they witnessed Victoria serving an abundant dinner to Sophie and Michael, while Daniel's portion consisted of a single piece of bread. "Victoria," William said sternly, "what is the meaning of this?" Startled, Victoria quickly masked her surprise with a forced smile. "Oh, William, it's nothing at all. Daniel prefers simpler food, don't you, Daniel?" Daniel shook his head firmly. "No, Father. I want to be treated the same as Sophie and Michael." William, finally seeing the truth clearly, felt both anger and disappointment rise within him. "Victoria, this is completely unacceptable. Daniel is my son and deserves love and respect. If you cannot provide that, then you have no place in this household." Victoria's face flushed with rage. "How dare you speak to me this way after everything I've done for this family?" "Done?" William replied coldly. "You've done nothing but create division and misery. I will not tolerate it any longer." Realizing she had been exposed, Victoria grabbed Sophie and Michael and stormed out of the farmhouse. William and Daniel watched as she disappeared down the road, their hearts heavy but filled with cautious hope, rebuilding and healing with Victoria gone. William and Daniel worked tirelessly to rebuild their lives. The farm flourished under their dedicated care, and Daniel's laughter gradually returned. They hired a kind-hearted woman to help with the household, and she treated Daniel with genuine affection. The farmhouse once again became a place of warmth and happiness. Years passed, and Daniel grew into a strong, compassionate young man who never forgot the lessons learned during those difficult times. He and his father remained close, their bond strengthened by the hardship they had overcome together. An unexpected return. Meanwhile, Victoria's circumstances deteriorated rapidly. She moved back to a small, rundown cottage at the village edge, struggling to maintain any semblance of her former lifestyle. Without the farm's resources and William's support, providing for Sophie and Michael became increasingly difficult. As time went on, the villagers began to notice Victoria's harsh treatment of her own children. Her once charming demeanor turned bitter and resentful, driving away what few friends she had left. Sophie and Michael, now older and more perceptive, began to see through their mother's facade. They realized how terribly she had treated Daniel and started questioning her choices. One day, while near the village square, Sophie and Michael overheard people discussing Daniel's kindness and resilience despite the hardships he had faced. Surprised by the praise for their stepbrother, they decided to visit William's farmhouse and see for themselves. When they arrived, they found Daniel working contentedly in the fields, his face bright with a genuine smile. William welcomed them, warmly and invited them inside for a meal. The atmosphere was filled with warmth and laughter, a stark contrast to the tension they had known with Victoria. During their visit, Sophie and Michael apologized to Daniel for their past cruelty. Daniel, ever kind-hearted, forgave them immediately and shared fond memories from their early days together. Sophie and Michael realized how much they had missed being part of a loving family and decided to stay at the farm for an extended visit. Change of heart. Victoria's situation continued to worsen. Her health declined, and she found herself increasingly isolated and struggling. One cold evening, lying in her bed, she reflected on the choices she had made and the pain she had caused. Regret and guilt weighed heavily upon her. Determined to make amends, Victoria gathered her strength and made her way to William's farmhouse. When she arrived, she saw Sophie and Michael playing happily with Daniel, their laughter carrying across the fields. She approached hesitantly, her heart pounding with anxiety. William, seeing Victoria's frail and remorseful appearance, invited her inside. Victoria broke down completely, apologizing for the pain she had caused and begging for forgiveness. William, though cautious, recognized the sincerity in her eyes and decided to give her an opportunity to make things right. A second chance, Victoria moved back to the farmhouse, but under very different circumstances. She no longer held any authority. Instead, she was determined to demonstrate her changed heart. She worked diligently to rebuild the trust she had destroyed, helping with household tasks and treating Daniel with the kindness and respect he had always deserved. Sophie and Michael, witnessing their mother's genuine efforts to change, gradually forgave her. Daniel, too, extended his forgiveness, his heart still filled with the compassion that had sustained him through the darkest times. Slowly but surely, the family began to heal. The years ahead. As years passed, the farmhouse became a true home once more. Victoria, though still haunted by her past actions, found peace in her family's love and forgiveness. She spent her days tending the garden, preparing meals, and sharing stories with Daniel, Sophie, and Michael. William and Victoria, while their relationship would never return to what it once was, developed a new kind of partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. They worked together to ensure the farm prospered and that their children grew up in a loving, supportive environment. Daniel became a talented and compassionate young man, his experiences shaping him into someone who deeply understood the value of kindness and perseverance. He pursued his love of art and eventually became a renowned artist, his work reflecting both the beauty and hardship of his journey. Daniel never forgot the lessons learned during those difficult years. He frequently visited schools and children's homes, sharing his story and encouraging young people to believe in themselves, regardless of the challenges they faced. Victoria's legacy. In her later years, Victoria devoted herself to helping others. She volunteered at the village children's home, offering her time and energy to those in need. Though she could never undo the pain she had caused, she found a sense of redemption in making a positive difference in others' lives. Victoria's story became known throughout the village as a tale of both caution and redemption, a reminder that it's never too late to change and seek forgiveness. Her journey from cruelty to kindness left a lasting impact, proving that even the hardest hearts can soften with time and genuine effort. The final chapter. In the end, the farmhouse stood as a symbol of resilience, forgiveness, and the transformative power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Daniel, William, Sophie, Michael, and Victoria became a family that, despite its troubled beginning, found harmony and true happiness together. Their story reminds us that kindness and courage can overcome even the harshest challenges, and that redemption is always possible for those who genuinely seek it.